Jeffrey Wright, congratulations are in order. You moved up from supporting actor to lead actor at the Emmys this year, and you got nominated. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool. Genuinely though, I'm pleased that the show was recognized in the numbers that it was recognized in, and you know, I'm in my category. I'm in the strange predicament of being paired with Ed Harris, my colleague at Westworld. So that feels good, and at the same time, it's a bit odd that we're having to face off, as it were, against one another. But I genuinely as well feel that just by being recognized, that we've, for lack of a better word, won. The show means so much to us. We put in a lot of work into it, and we do it with a great deal of devotion to the ideas behind it, to the concept, and to one another. So I feel I feel good that we're being recognized to this point.
What went behind that decision to move up to lead actor this year? And also, you chose to submit the season final, episode 10, for the Emmy judges in that category. What was behind that decision as well?
Well, as far as the determination to place me in the lead category, I think it really was a function of the role of Bernard's place in the overall story arc this year, in that he, in some ways, was kind of the narrator through which the audience took in the various storylines. Although he was somewhat unreliable as a narrator, it was very much he kind of shouldered a lot of the burden this year, and so for that reason, the decision was made to put me in the lead category. As far as my deciding to show the finale, I think the finale obviously was the culmination of a lot of things that happened this year, and the hope was that because it was a distillation of all of that, it would resonate more than some of the other stuff.
There was obviously, a lot came together in that season final. There are a lot of big twists, especially with your character at the center of them. Last season, towards the end of the season, there was a big twist about who your character was. How many of these sort of twists are you told about ahead of time?
First season, I knew about, Bernard not being quite the man that he thought he was very early on. I didn't know during the pilot. I kind of went into the pilot relatively blind. But when we came back for the second episode and to really kickstart the full production of the season, Lisa Joy, who is the better half of our married mad duo co-showrunners, led me into her office and kind of pried open my synthetic brain and dropped in the programming that I was in fact a host. And for me it was something of a shock because I had some suspicions when I read the pilot that we might play in this area, but I sent Jonah Nolan, who's the other better half of our co-showrunner duo. I sent him a note when I agreed to do the show that I'm happy to go on this journey with you, in which we discover that Robert Ford is in fact the creation of Dr. Bernard Lowe. And he sent me a note back saying, "Close but no cigar, Captain." So I knew they were up to something, but they kind of caught me off guard when they dropped that bit of information on me. But at the same time, I was really excited because it gave a new multi-dimensionality to the character and where he might go. And I think we've discovered that that they've used that used that very well, particularly in the second season, with the ideas of his kind of cognitive challenges and the ways in which he processes time and the ways in which his experiences are kind of piled on top of one another and become kind of conjoined as like kind of one kind of grand experience that he's unable to completely process in the way that a human might. So there's just been a lot that we have been able to explore with that construct that I've quite enjoyed.
And what makes Bernard tick?
I think there's probably some kind of photosynthetic like kind of power cell thing in the host skin. I think that's the energy source, if that's what you mean, tick. What makes him tick? I think that's what we were discovering. And I think as we enter season 3, we'll begin to answer that in a more robust way. Because I think to this point, what's made him tick has been Ford. He's been programmed, and he's been on a curious loop. And so over the last 2 seasons, what has emerged for him is a new sense of self, a sense of freedom. And so I think that's the question that he asks himself. What does make him tick? And ultimately, I think the journey for him is one of agency, one toward agency and toward self-determination. And I think for that reason, the story, Bernard's story and the stories of the other hosts are really metaphors for the existences that we all enjoy or don't enjoy right now, or at any time, trying to make determinations about who's in control of our actions, our decisions, and ultimately our destinies. So that's a really fun metaphor to play with. The construct allows us a lot of, I think, deep exploration into the human experience. And so, what makes any of us tick? That's my question for you, Matt.
Boy, that's a big one.
Jeffrey. You're welcome.
Yeah. But we'll move on with our question for you, and I'll mull over that one.
Very good.
What's the most challenging part of the? Oh, actually, what is the question that you are left with the most? It's such a big show of questions and metaphors for life. What thing that has the show delved into that fascinates you the most and leaves you with the biggest question?
I think it's really it's that question that you ask, about what makes us tick, and the ways in which our choices are programmed, and the ways in which we're able to break beyond the kind of systemic programming that we all, whether we realize it or not, are vulnerable to. And that's not to say that all that systemic programming is necessarily detrimental to, our experiencing of life and reality and all of those things. But sometimes those, that systemic program works against our deeper experience. And so I love that idea of exploring the ways in which we can be genuinely free thinking and free being individuals. So those questions are deep questions that relate to obviously to social constructs and political constructs, and all of those things that kind of that I'm curious about. And so that's what's most intriguing for me. It goes beyond the technology of AI and all of that stuff, but it really speaks more to the metaphor that we're playing with. with the idea that we humans are in our own ways hosts ourselves.
Mm. Jeffrey, what as an actor, what's been the most challenging thing for you on Westworld?
Well, season 2 was one of the most challenging exercises that I've undertaken in my career. Really, we put a lot of film in the can, and we do shoot on film. We're one of the few shows remaining that does. I think we probably shot the equivalent easily of 7 full-length movies over the course of a pretty quick 6-month schedule. Quick, it's kind of like having a baby. They say long days, short years. In our case, it's like, long days, just a few months, but the days, we pack a lot into those 6 months. And so, for example, with Bernard this year, I'd say the first 5 or 6 weeks, I shot scenes from maybe 7 or 8 episodes, including the finale, because we were trying to shoot Anthony Hopkins out because he was running off to do Lear. So we had about 2.5 months to shoot with Tony. And so we always shoot at least 2 units at a time, meaning we're working on a certain scene on one unit, and then there's another scene or a series of scenes that are being shot with another unit, maybe in a different location, different studio. And so, trying to piece together in a really relatively non-linear narrative arc for Bernard, trying to piece together all of these various scenes from various episodes and trying to manage that math, and then manage the math of his dysfunction and his awakening was pretty tough. And then what would happen would be I'd be shooting with Tony in the morning, shooting some stuff from an episode that I hadn't fully read. That was, pretty opaque. Then he would finish that, and then I'd stay in my costume and I'd hop in my truck and I'd drive up the highway up to the next unit. I'm kind of passing people along the 5 and waving, and then going off and doing the next thing. So there was a lot of logistics to balance. Obviously the show is a huge logistical challenge for our locations people and for our design folks, but there were logistical challenges for us too as actors, just trying to make our way through all of the various pieces, trying to digest all the breadcrumbs that we were given along this longer journey when we really we were doing it in a completely non-linear way. So it was a challenge, but it was a deeply deeply fulfilling challenge. I love this stuff. We all love it. It's mad. I call it benevolent chaos, and I'm never really one who likes to work in a chaotic setting. And I wouldn't say that ours is, because there is a definite method to the madness, but it's certainly a pretty mad way of going about things.
Yeah. We got a question in from someone who wanted to know about the shifts between when you play Arnold and when you play Bernard, and the little sort of changes and gear changes you have to make when playing the different characters, and whether that's something that you put a lot of thought into and very careful about, or whether it's something that just sort of naturally happens.
Well, I one of my mantras in working on anything is to take what I'm given within the writing. And so there are pretty distinct differences between Bernard and Arnold, and they relate particularly to Arnold's relationship with Dolores. Bernard doesn't really have that type of relationship in his existence. That relationship with Dolores, particularly in the first season, for Arnold, is a very paternal one. It's a very, by nature, nurturing one. And there's a warmth there there's an kind of an idealized warmth there that he expresses toward her that Bernard doesn't have. There's no one within, you know, his circle, or no entity within his circle that he expresses that toward. So that brings out a different element for Arnold. He's you know, he's a bit more human in that regard. And so that's all on the page. That's all in the relationships that, you know, um, that he's given as a character. So that shapes the way that I you know, I portray him. Bernard is a facsimile of Arnold, so he's not quite as fully fleshed out in a literal sense, and so that comes into play in the way I portray him. He's a little more reserved and a little more mysterious in some ways, and just slightly less blood-filled. And that's again, it's a function of what's written on the page.
Well, we got that. It's interesting. You talk about the scenes with Dolores. We actually got that question from your dual meditation scene partner, Evan Rachel Wood.
Hello, Evan Rachel Wood.
Yeah, we spoke with her last week, and I said, do you have anything for Jeffrey Wright if we chat with him? And that's what she said.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well, Evan was really funny. I remember when we did one of the first scenes, season 2, she's like, "Oh wow, this is the first scene I've ever had with Bernard." You know, you know, it had all been Arnold up to that point, and she was like, "Oh my God, it's a totally different thing here." But Evan brings so much out of me. She's just a dream to work with, a dream partner, and it's we you know, we were able to find this common space together, and this common intent. It's just the two of us kind of staring into each other's eyes, and it's just, I've said it before, but the intimacy that we're able to find, and the nuance that we're able to find, and the push and pull, and her generosity as an actor is so supportive, so beneficial, and you know, I just try to give the same to her. You know, a lot of people think when two actors work together that, you know, it's, you know, and it can be sometimes with when you're with assholes, it can be a bit of a bout. It can be a bit of a boxing match, and sometimes it can be really annoying. But the best boxing matches are when you're two actors working together, and you're fighting like hell to tell the story together. And it's not about playing ego against ego, you know, ego that exists outside the character. It's about how do we craft this scene together and this story that we're telling in the most unique and fully developed way that we possibly can. And that's what Evan and I do together. And it's just, it's like so much that we do on this show. It's just a wonderful gift. You know, if you're in this profession, it's the kind of work that you want to do. So thank you, Evan.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess, as you say there, it's sort of shows or performances are at their best when they are the result of collaboration, not competition.
100%.
And it's that not serving your own personal performance, but well, not your own personal ego, but the performance as a whole. And how can you support Evan? How can she support you? How can you draw the best out of each other?
100%, 100%. That I find that is pretty much the common theme on our show. It's about mutual support and about digging down as deep as we possibly can, and really trying to realize Jonah's and Lisa's vision to the fullest extent that we can, because because I think we each in our own individual ways respond to this material. but we appreciate its relevance. We appreciate the scale, the vision, and we're fans. We're fans like everyone else who's taken to the show, and we want to see it done well. And a lot of that is in our hands.
Yeah. So. Jeffrey, behind you, there's an artwork or a painting or something. What do you want to? What's that?
That one?
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
that was a. Speaking of kind of the mutual respect, and we talk about this stuff. So you hear actors talk about this all the time. Oh, we're such a good, and sometimes it's all nonsense. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, if I can only tell you how dreadful that experience was, you wouldn't believe it. But so, but on this show, it really is. We have a good thing. We know it. We appreciate it. That it was a present from one of my colleagues on Westworld as he left the show or finished up for the season. Was it last season? Yes, this past season. That was from Anthony Hopkins. That's one of his pieces that he gifted me with.
Oh, love it. Yeah. Are you able to bring it over, Jeffrey, so we can have a better look at it, or not?
It would. No.
Okay, that's it.
Leave a little bit of mystery there.
Oh, yeah. I love it. No, that's great.
See, that's Charlie Chaplin over there. He's kind of he's guarding that piece. So
okay, no, totally fine. People can
total mess. I'm kind of ensconced here in my little chair, sitting in this bay window here. It'd be a total mess.
No, that's fine. Jeffrey, it's been a pleasure talking about Westworld with you. Is season 3 coming back? When are you shooting season 3? Is that planned yet or not?
We do have a tentative schedule to go back into production in the coming months.
Okay, so yeah, not too far away.
No, but it's as folks know, pretty complex stuff, and so what's required is time for our writers to to circle together, hang heads, and come up with more of more of these worlds, because there's no source material. We've long ago exhausted the source material for Westworld, which was really just that one Michael Crichton film. There was no book. I think some folks think that there was no book. There was just the film from '74. So everything that you've seen has been built upon that concept, but there's no source material beyond that. And so just we need a little time to allow our writers' imaginations to to conjure up more season 3. And so we'll be patient, give them time, and then we'll go back and start hammering at it again.
Well, thank you so much, Jeffrey. It's been a pleasure chatting, and all the best for the Emmys.
Hey, thank you, man. Get out in that water, Matt. You're down there. You're surrounded by it.
I know. You'll have to come down sometime and show me how to surf.
I'll come down with Luke, with Luke Hemsworth. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, Jeffrey.
We'll get wet out there. Cool, man.